All right, let me get this presented. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about our next big project, which will be our Zentangle watercolor picture. For this project, the main component of our supplies that we're going to be using is obviously going to be our Sharpies. We will use our ultra fine tips, which are ones that are kind of like the pen, as well as the regular Sharpie, which is more like the marker, depending on like if you're working in smaller spaces or smaller designs or filling in larger areas with larger designs. Okay, so here off to the right, you will see an example of a Zentangle. Okay, and it has quite a few different Zentangle designs within this one picture here. Sometimes Zentangles may be presented as just being one design, or it could be a lot of different designs within a small space. So a little bit of history of it. This is a fairly newer form of art that's been patented recently. It was first coined by Nick Roberts and Maria Thomas, and you'll see the two couple over here to the right. Maria, so she's been an artist her whole life. She's always been a very avid doodler, likes to just doodle in her sketchbooks, and she does a lot of different artistic lettering. So like if you're trying to come up with different fonts, like different artistic fonts, that's what she does. Nick was watching her doodle in her studio one day, and he kind of described the process as being like almost like meditating or meditation. He saw it as a way to possibly help people. So she was getting so lost into her drawings. She was just spending hours and hours on end in there doodling. He's like, hey, this could possibly use as kind of like a meditation technique. So they started coming up with different ideas for the name. And the name tangle was first used to describe the process, like a tangling or intertwining of different types of lines. Then Zen, which is a Japanese school of Buddhism that emphasizes the value of meditation and intuition. So again, going back to kind of that process as he was describing it as being kind of meditating. So putting that process together with the idea of tangled lines together, they came up with Zentangle. Okay, so if you like to draw different patterns, which are things that are repetitive, or just doodle with your pen and paper, you can learn to Zentangle. So if you ever catch yourself just drawing on your page in math class or science when you're supposed to be taking notes, you're probably doing a form of Zentangling without even realizing it. As the name implies, it's a Zen-like way of creating images through the repetitive patterns and shapes. So through this picture here, we can pick out a bunch of different ways that the lines are being repetitive. If you look through right here, you see a bunch of straight lines that are repeating themselves. They're going across in like up and down, vertical, horizontal, and diagonal. You see this inner web design with black and white shapes here going through, those repeating themselves. More of like a feather technique where the feather lines repeat, swirling patterns, zigzags that are repetitive. So there could be a lot of different types of lines. Lines is going to be the main component or the main element that we use with Zentangling and how those lines repeat themselves. Okay, so why Zentangle? Why do this? It can give you a sense of timelessness, a feeling of freedom, and a form of meditation. So after doing some of these in the past, a lot of students have said like, wow, like, oh, that much time has passed, and they don't even realize how much time that they're spending on these. But it's just because some of these like lines can get so repetitive that it becomes kind of calming, and you lose sense of time. You get a sense of freedom because it's up to you to decide which direction your Zentangle is going to go. If it's going to be like one repetitive design, like the first design here, that you continue all the way through, you can decide to stop your design halfway through and then change it to a second one. Or you can do something like this where you're constantly changing your ideas. The freedom, you have so much freedom with these types of designs where you guys get to choose which direction you're going into them. There's never a mistake in Zentangling. Okay, you cannot fail to create a Zentangle, and I'm going to talk about this here a little bit more in just a few minutes about how you can never make mistakes. Okay, so deliberate mark making. Off to the right here, you will see 6 different types of Zentangle patterns. Okay, and something that's significant about this, just think for a second which element of art is being represented the most as it's going from left to right. It's value. Okay, so you start out with your light Zentangles. Okay, you notice that your lines are going to be very far apart spaced. Okay, you'll notice that there are a few lines. Okay, and then as you slowly move to the middle, you start to see more and more lines. Sometimes they're even overlapping. You see less space being being empty. And as you go all the way to the right, you will see that the values get darker because you have more lines. Those lines are closer together. They're enclosing that space. So that is how you get different values with Zentangles. A lot of people are confused and think, well, you can't really get different values when using a marker. And this is one way that you can do that. It's how you apply it to the paper, okay, and how close you put your marks or how far apart you put those marks together. So we actually are going to be doing a value scale eventually, so you can practice making different values with your Sharpies. All right, so no eraser. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of these designs in Sharpie, and Sharpie is not erasable. So we really have no way to fix mistakes if we make them. Okay, so just like in life, there's no eraser. In Zentangling, we have no erasers either. Okay, however, in Zentangle, you can discover that if you make what you think could be a mistake, you can then build on it and create it as a new pattern or go in an unexpected new direction. Okay, so if you start making a Zentangle and if you mess up, okay, you do not have to continue that design all the way through your piece. You could change it up, turn it into something else. You can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as many different Zentangles within a given area as you want to. You don't have to continue the same Zentangle all the way through. Okay, so earlier I touched upon how line is the most important element that we are going to be using with Zentangling. Okay, all of our different types of Zentangles are a variety or a tangle of different lines. Okay, so line variety is going to be very important for this project. Off to the left here, you will see those different types of lines that I've taught you guys about with the elements of art. You have your straight, diagonal, horizontal, your curvy lines, dashed, dotted, wavy, okay? Now, how you pair these lines together, okay, these will start making rhythmic line designs or patterns, okay, that you can incorporate into Zentangles. So you see how you can incorporate straight lines here, zigzag lines, swirling lines, and wavy lines. All right. Another element that we can use with Zentangling is textures, or more so visual textures. Okay, so looking through these different ones here, okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds here. Which designs can you pick out that show visual texture or that remind you something from real life? Okay, just a couple to point out here. One that stands out to me is right here in the second row, the spider web. Okay, the one in the top row here, this kind of looks like cobblestones. The one to the right of that kind of looks like bricks. And this one reminds me of like fish scales or reptile skin. As you go down lower through here, you have kind of the wood grain towards the bottom. This one, and then over here, all the way to the left, you can kind of see like a woven pattern. I'm sure that you can pick out a lot of other designs through here that represent texture. So the way that you combine a lot of these different lines may imitate a type of a texture, and that is also considered to be a Zentangle because it's a tangle of different types of lines. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you today here, it's a short little video, and in the video, it's actually Nick and Maria, and they talked together about how they came up with the term Zentangle, how they thought about getting this process started, and through that, You will also see Maria here as she's going through and designing a Zentangle.
The Zentangle method is an easy-to-learn, relaxing, and fun way to create beautiful images by drawing structured patterns.
Let me tell you the story, The Great Interruption. Many years ago,
Oops, sorry. I'm going to try to turn it up so you guys can hear it. There we go.
The Zentangle method is an easy-to-learn, relaxing, and fun way to create beautiful images by drawing structured patterns.
let me tell you the story, The Great Interruption. Many years ago, I was in my studio drawing small patterns in the background of a piece of artwork. I had been drawing for about 3 hours when Rick interrupted me. I awoke out of a reverie, so beautiful I did not want it to stop. He told me I was describing meditation and that he was really surprised that I was able to achieve this state so simply. We knew then and there that we had to teach this technique to others. This was the birth of Zentangle method. The rest is history.
We felt that what had just happened in that moment was really important. We talked about why Maria experienced such unique feelings of selflessness, of timelessness, and effortlessness as she drew those simple patterns. We thought about all the people over the years who gave their reasons why they weren't artists and couldn't be creative. Anyone who could sign their name already knew everything necessary to draw what Maria was working on when I interrupted her. Could we find a simple method to teach others to draw these patterns? Might they also be able to access the same relaxed state of focus that Maria experienced? We had to find out. So we took the inspiration of that moment and recorded all of our thoughts and conversations over the next 2 days.
Oh, that was a great time. We went to a bed and breakfast and had the place all to ourselves.
We bought a blank book and we just wrote down the conversation.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
And we haven't changed anything since then. So after that, we just began to share the Zentangle method. Our belief that everyone is an artist and that each person benefits from expressing their innate creativity has proven more true than we could have imagined. And we believe that you too are an artist.
Welcome to the Zentangle website.
My name is Rick.
And I'm Maria.
And there's so much here for you to discover and explore.